And welcome back for another episode. Episode
Six,
eight,
seven,
six,
seven.
seven? I think it's at least seven. We'll go with that. Episode seven. Today on the slate is Revolutionary Road. So the reunion of Kate Winslet and Leo DiCaprio, of course. But before that, I got a little bit of movie news actually. And the thing is, so it's movies that were coming to Netflix that maybe we could even review. I don't know if it's to American Netflix though. That's the only issue because I just got it off some cinema site.
Okay.
But this is in June, so there's Silence of the Lambs, E.T.,
Mhm.
Lady Bird, which I really want to watch, and if it goes to Netflix, that would make it the process a lot easier. And then Frost and Nixon. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's another one that I've heard is really good. So all movies we could. I mean, I've seen Silence of the Lambs recently, but
Mm.
I haven't seen E.T. in a very long time.
First time I saw E.T. when I was a kid, I cried.
Yeah, man, it
I
gets
I
intense.
was like 6, and I remember, but my mom's just like, "Why are you crying?" Because I feel like nothing sad had even
It's
happened, but I was just like, the guy is just posted up in the closet all day. He doesn't even get to
you
with his
just felt
friends.
bad for it. I guess it's not. Yeah, it's definitely like sad at the end when he has to go, but it's not really. I guess it's not really any more sad than you're
Yeah.
just feeling for the alien. I went on. Did you ever go on the ride at? I think it was at Universal
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or was it at Disney? Anyway, one place there, but that ride's a little creepy when I was a kid. I remember wanting like my whole family is going on that ride, and like I mean almost every ride I didn't want to go on. I was just crying like a little kid, but that was one of them. And then I actually went back to Disney 2 years ago, and I'm like I'm going on. I went on all the rides I was too scared to go on.
The only ride at Universal that I will never go on, and maybe I will if I go back now, is the Hulk.
Oh, dude, that ride is the best.
I
It's
just like
intimidating, but you just gotta
yeah.
hop on it. You just gotta hop on it. I was because yeah, I never went on it till the last 2 years because I wasn't really a fan of like actual roller coasters, and that one just scared the
Mhm.
crap out of me. But no, I've been on. I went on that one a couple times. It's a sick one. The Spider-Man ride there is so dope.
Yeah, the Spider-Man one's cool.
That one though, the first time I went on it, scared the crap out of me, so I had my eyes closed.
Yeah.
They have so many good ones there though.
Do they
Like,
have the Jurassic Park one there?
yeah,
That
where
one
you
scared
drop at
me.
the end.
That one scared me.
Yeah, no, that one definitely, especially if like you kind of don't know. I guess you kind of see the slide from the outside looking at it, but if you didn't know, that'd be crazy. But
Yeah.
also just yeah, the animatronics of the dinosaurs, although it's a little outdated now, but it's still scary as a kid. And they also had the pterodactyl like swing, so it like swing back and forth. But like that one was scary. Like I always felt I was gonna hit the poles, kind of like
Mm.
what's that ride at Canada's Wonderland, the one that you hang
Oh,
lot like velocity or something like that,
yeah, something
something
like
like that,
that.
or vortex.
Vortex.
But oh yeah, and then the last movie I forgot to read it was Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, and that's with John C. Riley. I feel like I saw when that came out like time ago, but I just never went to see
Mm.
it. So, anyways, hopefully those come to Canadian Netflix, but probably not. Hopefully, we'll pray. Anyways, moving on to the movie that we will actually be reviewing this fine afternoon or evening. And it's Revolutionary Road, as I said, a 2008 romantic drama film directed by Sam Mendes. Wouldn't exactly say it's romantic. I guess it has its moments,
Yeah.
but it was written by Justin Haith and based on the 1961 novel of the same name by Richard Yates.
Mm.
Like I said, reunion of Titanic. So great to see them back together. And yeah, I realized I didn't. I guess I can bring up a little synopsis of what Revolutionary Road is about here. It says Frank and April are an ideal couple who live with their two children in the suburbs of Connecticut. However, when they start facing issues in their marriage, April decides to move to Paris. So that pretty much gives away absolutely nothing in this movie, kind of just like the main plots that you get off the top. So that's nice. But yeah, what did you think about Revolutionary Road?
So I'll start with what I liked about it. Definitely one of my favorite performances from Kate Winslet. Uh, Leonardo is great as well. I think Leonardo, like, he does a great job of playing characters that don't really have a conscience. Um, just like you could see, he's not the most perfect guy in the world in this movie, and he does some things that are kind of questionable. Uh, Yeah, in terms of the plot, like I feel like I've seen this story a lot, especially when it's like set in the 50s and the housewife has aspirations for a greater life and her husband's standing in the way. I think like the idea of stepping out of your comfort zone, which is a theme that's addressed a lot in this movie, is something that's pretty hard to deal with, not only as an individual, but especially as a couple, where you feel like one person's holding you back. And I think they did a pretty good job exploring that in this movie. There's lots of great monologues and character interactions. It's a very character-driven movie, of course. It's basically Kate Winslet and Leonardo throughout the entire thing. There's like a lot of instances throughout the film where I feel myself, because like this is definitely a movie where you are kind of forced to take a side and see
It's like
like
Marriage Story.
yeah,
It's like a worse marriage story, I would
yeah.
say.
Um, it's like where you find yourself like teetering back and forth between who you're actually like siding with. I think that would be more of a testament to the author of the book itself because it makes it more entertaining, I guess. There wasn't anything mind blowing really about the cinematography, but I think that could also be interpreted as like being intended because like Roger Deakins, the goat that I've been praising throughout every episode, um, he makes the house feel very small at times, which is
They
like
filmed
just
it just in the house.
yeah, which is like showing that it's kind of they're trapped, I guess, in this kind of suburban neighborhood.
Claustrophobic, yeah. Stuck in the
Um,
environment.
and the colors are very bland, emphasizing like the dullness of their lives, I guess. But yeah, there was nothing really mind blowing about the plot to me. Um, I'll let you say what you liked about it before I get into my dislikes.
Yeah, definitely. The performances, I thought the performances in this movie were like outstanding for what the plot was, and I also think the plot kind of opened the actors up to pretty much do whatever they want with it, which makes and like what we were talking about in the movie where, like with Spotlight, which obviously is much better than this movie, but I would say the performances in this movie are better than in Spotlight. But like we said, it's because they have more creative freedom. They're able to express themselves. I thought, first of all, Leo wasn't even nominated for this or Kate Winslet. I checked the Oscars; they weren't nominated at all, which I think is ridiculous. Like I thought this was definitely for both of them an Oscar performance, maybe even in a win.
Yeah, I would think I could definitely see Kate Winslet, Leonardo as well, but I think for Leonardo it was nothing like at this point in his career, like at 2009, he had been robbed for a bunch of stuff, right? So it's like it's not really totally surprising to see that he wouldn't get
Yeah,
nominated for this, but it doesn't take anything away from it. He did great in a lot of the tense scenes and stuff, and he's really good at freaking out.
yeah. I thought this is one of his best performance in terms of like just showing full emotion. And I guess we've seen Leo be an asshole before, but I don't think to this extent where he's just kind of like cruel and just very mean. Where it's like, yeah, like Wolf of Wall Street, he was an asshole, but he was also fun and out there, and it was just kind of like part of his. I don't know. It just like came off like that, but yeah, it's just an absolute ass. And that was, and also I want to say Michael Shannon was amazing in this too, playing God, I never know the characters' names in these
John,
movies. Is Jan his movie? Yeah, I thought he was really good
John,
in this
yeah.
too. And I mean, Michael Shannon's great in everything he does. We've talked about Knives Out recently. He's just an excellent actor. So there was no surprises there. But yeah, I mean, like,
Should I move on to my dislikes from there, I guess?
sure, yeah.
Okay, because I feel like we're gonna say a lot of the same stuff here. Like the okay, my main criticism in terms of the plot that kind of pissed me off, and I'm sure that this was probably explained better in detail in the book. Like the story itself constantly refers back to how it was like before and how like they were so amazing before. There is a 2-minute scene at the beginning of the movie which shows when they first meet, and that is it. Like for a movie that constantly tries to get you invested with the characters in longing for that getting back to what they once were, how do I follow along with you if I have no idea if that was even a better scenario? And I think that it could have been intentional, I guess, because really, um, you see in the first 2 minutes that like it's just romance. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're just are attracted to each other, and it marriages don't really tend to last like that when it's just based solely on romance. And I think that could be intentional, but I find it hard to believe that that was even the case, considering how passionate a lot of their arguments were.
Yeah, well,
Um,
she does have a quote that pretty much sums that up, where she says, "You were just some boy who made me laugh at a party once, and now I loathe the sight of you." So I think
mm.
it kind of does show that maybe they rushed into the relationship, but I feel like it also.
But for me, there's just so many in-depth, intense arguments
Mhm,
that if you didn't actually care about each other like
it's
so
whatever.
much, you wouldn't have been this invested into a lot of the arguments you're having. And that comes with time, I guess, as well. Like you just spend a lot of time with someone and you feel like you've wasted your life. And I think that's another big theme about this movie is just individuality and how like uh the Kate Winslet's character, she's a failed actress, and um she just kind of has been living with like Leo's character just out of necessity rather than actually enjoying it. Um, yeah, but some other things like you rarely see the kids in the movie, and
To be honest, when I read that they had two kids, I forgot. It,
yeah,
it, it reminded me.
and like not to say this is every marriage, but a lot of marital issues come when you have children, right? I won't say it's directly associated with having kids, but it complicates things, right?
Yeah.
You feel a different attachment because, of course, majority of parents love their children, and it's not easy when you're with someone that's kind of toxic, right?
Hmm.
Um, but the fact that they just completely dismissed the children in every single marital issue, I thought was kind of unrealistic. And you were talking about Michael Shannon. I think he does a great job. Um, like his portrayal is phenomenal, but I think his character is just like one of
Weird.
the many cliches of
Yeah.
the entire movie, really. I mean, it's the crazy person that is like turns out to be the voice of reason. Like
Yeah.
he sees it really as this kind of toxic relationship. I think that's been used like far too often, really. And the fact that their street name is revolutionary, but
Hmm.
their lives are far from that. And what else did I have? There was one more thing. Oh yeah, both of them cheating on each other. Like that's just
Yeah, and what's like I didn't expect it from Kate Winslet's character, but I guess she kind of was just fed up with things. But yeah, I feel like a couple things that would have made this movie better. And I know this just totally like goes away from the book and exactly what Sam Mendes was trying to do, but I feel like this should have just been set in real time, present day. Like I think it would have been more relevant to people. I think people, although obviously it's just a time where relationships were like different, and it was almost not that it's a no, obviously not a good thing, but it was almost more expected that those were kind of going to be the gender roles of that period. And
yeah,
I get that's why he's trying to highlight it, which I understand, and I know that's why he wouldn't switch from it, but it made for kind of a boring movie just because not like it's what you expected, but there could have been a little more shock factor if it was real time. It could have brought up some like more real issues that are a little more relevant to like today's time. And I think it could have just been a little more gritty, a
yeah,
little more gritty.
yeah, and um, I completely agree with it. It's the timepiece doesn't really fit. Um, not to say that like well exactly what you're saying, like at that time it was just kind of the
It
gender
was
roles were
different
just kind of
times.
yeah
Yeah, like the
very
dad
different.
would pour himself a scotch, go in the living room, and the mom would cook dinner. It's just like obviously it's not why it should be, but it was just like
Yeah,
just different times back then. And that's why I get it's exactly the book was made back in that time, and Sam Mendes was highlighting that time period. It just came out a little dull, and like I said, it kind of took away from the shock factor because you almost like expected that's what a kind of a relationship would be back then, where I feel like a lot of the times the women's goals didn't come through. And it's great that they're highlighting it. I just think there probably could have been more interesting ways. I think it, like the way it could have affected, like you said, you didn't really see the kids, maybe how it affected the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought one of them was going to kill each other, or like I thought she was going to
Yeah.
kill him, which I would have loved. I wanted her to kill him,
I
but
thought she was gonna run away. Actually, I thought
or
she was
just
gonna go to
something, but
Paris.
she just ended up dying, which I
Yeah.
guess is a kind of a statement in itself, where she was kind of trying to free herself, but it ended up ending herself, which is
Yeah.
it got intense. But
Well, in her whole character, there was something that kind of frustrated me because, like, realistically, especially for the time period, like we're saying, where a lot of people were just very accepted with the way their lives were and how,
a little more
um,
submissive.
right. And the life they're living, especially for the time period, is far from bad, right? Like they're living in a very nice neighborhood. They have kids who they love. And of course, that's not to dismiss that the marriages can't go bad, but I just think that for Kate Winslet's character, she's just very unsatisfied with her life. Like she's a failed actress. We see that early on, and it, the kind of housewife lifestyle, I guess, isn't for everyone, right? And I think that's one way that she tries to drag Leo's character down. And I think that this is something that they could have explored for her character, and how, like, it's not that she really wants to run away to Paris for him, but she wants to run away to Paris for herself. But I don't think it was something that was intended, which kind of makes it stupid, in my opinion. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Leo's character was a bit sick in the head. I mean, he was just getting angry over many different things, cheating on his wife, all over the place. And I think some of the kind of costume design fed into that notion of like working men, like sheep in the system. You know, like when all of his scenes going to work, everybody's wearing the exact same thing, all flooding through the train station. I think he's kind of stating that all men were kind of under the same. I don't know, like it was just people floating. It was the way that there wasn't. I think like there wasn't individuality. I'm gonna say it was
Mm.
people were in their roles. They knew what they're gonna do. Very conservative. Went to work, did their 9 to 5, came home, wife cooked dinner, whatever, and then moving to Paris. Like I think throughout the whole movie, you kind of know they're never gonna go to Paris. You might have a feeling that they're
Yeah.
gonna, and I think that kind of does a good job of like, he's like, I don't feel any sympathy for Leo's character just because he was a jerk. And I guess it goes back both ways in certain instances, but for the most part, you're on Kate Winslet's side because she's kind of taking all the hits here. And the kind of the couples they're friends with, they kind of match that prototypical family as well. So I think there was just a lot of social commentary on the way things were. But like I said, it just kind of comes off a little dull at some points. And I don't even know like I said, I don't know if there could have been many things to change it, except I just like a little more real time, a grittier, kind of like a Good Time, where it's like,
Well, and it would be more realistic for something like this to actually happen, like for them to actually run away to Paris, right? Where I
yeah,
feel like at this time period that was just so far out of reach that coming into it that you're like, well, that's not happening.
yeah.
Yeah. So final review. What do you got?
I gave it a 7 just because of Kate Winslet and Leo's performances.
I gave it a 7.1.
Cool.
So yeah. And it's funny because I think I actually liked it worse. Or I liked it worse.
Didn't like it as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I just like, I don't know. Oh wait. Never mind. I gave it a 7.3. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go. 2 points ahead of you. So
Yeah.
yeah, that makes a little more sense. Yeah, acting was pretty much did everything for it. I think in some instances it was a powerful story with a powerful message. It just could have been done a little better. And then I think there's people that would just like probably get really into this movie because I was seeing reviews and people loved it and they thought the performances were really moving, which they were really good. But yeah, like you said, I was never fully invested.
Yeah. And it's obviously it's a story that we've seen before, like I said, and we'll probably continue to see because conflict is always something entertaining. And Leo and Kate did a great job, but I just wish this wasn't the movie they reunited in.
Yeah, it's definitely not Titanic and
It's just
a lot more.
depressing too. Like,
Yeah, and the thing is, it's depressing, and Titanic was depressing, but it's also relevant because it was had this true story behind it, which was really impactful. But it was also they intertwined a lot of interesting storyline throughout the movie as well,
mhm.
which switched stuff up. And I thought it probably was a better. They probably did better acting performances in Revolutionary Road. It was just Titanic was a much better movie.
Yeah, I saw this one comment that Revolutionary Road is what what are the two characters in Titanic? I forget what their names are.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
It
so
well,
bad with movie names.
Revolutionary Road is what would happen if those
Isn't it
two
like
made
Jack or
it
something? I feel
Jack
like
and something. Revolutionary Road is what would happen if those two made it out alive and started a life together.
yeah, that's pretty good. That is
Because it's
pretty
just
good.
pure romance and then it turns into madness.
Yeah, like I said, just a much worse marriage story.
Yeah.
I can't even. It has to be Jack. I'm pretty sure it's Jack.
Yeah. Let's just move on. It doesn't matter. We're going to be talking about our top 5 couples in films. Um, the famous ones. And this doesn't mean like they're actually dating, but this means like they're uh they're couples in the movies. So,
Okay.
do you want to start with your first?
Yeah, my number five, and I don't know. I guess I don't know. I guess depending on how good the movie was, it kind of affected my opinion of as well. But these couples kind of drove the movie anyways, so it was based off their performances. But number five for me is Rocky. This also, I mean, it's one of my favorite movies and series of all times, but it's also probably a bit of recency bias since I watched it like 2 days ago. But I mean, how can you not love Rocky in the 70s and Adrian, the classic story, classic love tale? Yeah, nothing much to say about it. I just love the series, and Rocky's my man. It was like one of the first movies I ever vividly remember liking as a kid. So it's stuck in my brain.
So I didn't really order these at all. So I'm just gonna go with I found the name Rose and Jack
Yes, I just saw that.
in Titanic. So obviously, I think a lot of what makes this couple so iconic is because of the story, right? Like they're just
Yeah.
doomed from the start, really. Um, their romance is forbidden, and then there's when they finally get together, you're dead.
And the thing is, it's like Room or Titanic, where it's depressing, but not for the sake of kind of just being depressing. Like it's sad, but it moves you at the same time. Like you almost want to be sad, and that's how you know it was good.
Mm,
But with Revolutionary Road, it was just kind of depressing.
yeah.
Like it was just depressing. Anyways, um, I'll go on with my next one. Or did you said yours, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, yeah. My next one is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I thought it has to do with the performances just because it was funny seeing
Wait, sorry. What was it? I think you cut out.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind,
Okay.
Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. I think a lot of it was seeing Jim Carrey in a different role. Hadn't really, I guess, just used to him being in mostly comedies, Goofy, Ace Ventura. Pet Detective, Mask, all those kind of goofy movies. Nice to see him in a little more serious role. And I just loved how this wasn't your typical couple movie. I mean, I don't really want to spoil it without giving it away, but like they pretty much like wipe their memories of each other, so it makes it kind of fun in the back and forth. So it was great acting, but I think I loved more of like the dynamic of the relationship and how kind of weird and funky it was compared to other movies and how they were displayed.
That's a good movie. My next one I have is Allie and Noah, or Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams in The Notebook. I feel like this one, like a lot of the ones on my list, are just because of how like iconic their performances kind of are in the romance landscape of film. Yeah, there's a lot of like this one is obviously it talks about like Ryan Gosling's character. He's basically going to stop at nothing to get this girl. And yeah, this was one of the first performances I think by Ryan Gosling in like a big film, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, what was I watching? What was this? 2008, 2009?
Yeah.
I would say probably his first like leading role. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, probably his leading role because I know he was in Remember the Titans, but I don't know how old that was.
Hmm.
I don't know. Anyways, so my next one is going to be Revolutionary Road, just because, like I said, I only gave it a decent score because of their performances, and I think it's really emotional. I thought they both did really excellent portraying just a horrible marriage and pure anger. Like you could tell they probably, while filming, got them into a state of actual anger. And yeah, and I think there's a lot of passion involved in that. And if it's the only good thing about a movie, I think it says a good amount of it. But yeah, pretty
Well,
much it's only about the relationship. So
I had that in my list as well. So let me see which other ones I had. I believe yes, Sandy and Danny in Greece. So John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John, just another one that's just one of the most iconic in film. Um, yeah, there's not really a lot of depth to these two really, but I think it's just kind of the like Grease is a fun movie for the first time, I guess.
yeah, I'm not sure if I've ever even seen it. But
Hmm.
I know I've seen snippets of it and scenes, but I never really went out of my way to watch it in full.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, so I'll move on to my number two, which is another boxing movie and one of my favorites, and it's Raging Bull with Robert De Niro. And who's the other actor's name? Let me give her
Oh,
some credit here.
keep yawning.
Giannis. Kathy Moriarty. So her. Anyways, I mean, this is one of Robert De Niro's best performances ever. And I mean, it's kind of similar. It's kind of another movie you can bring up that's like Revolutionary Road, but much better. Obviously, I mean, the plot is a little more interesting because I mean, it's a real story, but also the twist of him being, not a twist, but he's a boxer in it. So that brings a little more excitement and action to it. But also, it's just, have you seen Raging Bull? It's just like,
Yeah.
De Niro puts on a clinic, and
Mhm.
that's like, and when I was saying it's kind of related to Revolutionary Road, I feel like it kind of talks about the gender roles where he's kind of jealous about everything she does and is very controlling of her, and she's kind of trying to break from his mold, but just based purely off of Robert De Niro's performance and how much of just an absolute lunatic he is in it. That puts me in number two. And I
So,
like angry couple performances rather than happy ones
mm,
sometimes.
so my next one is I got Ennis and Jack in Brokeback Mountain, or
Mm-hmm.
Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal. And once again, this is just kind of like this is a breakthrough movie, really, in terms of its subject matter. And Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger are phenomenal in it. And Once again, it's just kind of similar theme in terms of their love is forbidden, whatever. Very cliche for romance movies, but this one takes a very different route. And yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal is my boy,
Mm-hmm.
except for Prince of Persia, because that movie was a dumpster fire. So this will be my number one, and that's A Star Is Born. I just love this movie, and I love Bradley Cooper. I love Lady Gaga. Luckily, like, I mean, they've made it so many times that I'm not spoiling it. Like him killing himself at the end. Luckily, I hadn't seen it, so it made it so much more impactful for me, and that's probably why I liked it more than somebody that I actually seen. There was other movies because I didn't even know until after I watched it. I just love this movie. I love how real and like realistic Bradley Cooper's performance is, and I think a lot of it comes from true experience because he was an alcoholic himself. But it's very real, and you can feel it. And it's another one of those movies where you feel like, I mean, even people were saying that they thought Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper were dating on the side because they were just so well connected, and their relationship was so fluid that yeah, it's just a lot of happy moments, a lot of really sad moments. It's just when he killed himself at the end, it's like a knife to the stomach.
Yeah, so that concludes our top
Wait,
5
did you
list
say your number one?
because I started. That was
Oh,
my
I thought
phone.
I started. Anyways, cool.
Yeah, so let's move on to the 2014
Oscars.
Oscars.
And now we are moving on to the next part of the episode, and that is the 2014 Oscars. So another good year for movies, and that's obviously 2013 releases for the 2014 Oscars. There's a lot of good choices here. So as we move on to Best Picture, the winner was 12 Years a Slave, and then the nominees were American Hustle, Captain Phillips, Dallas Buyers Club, Gravity, Her, Nebraska, Philomena. I don't know, never heard of that one, and The Wolf of Wall Street. So, and I think I said Captain Phillips, right? So great selection of movies here, but 12 Years a Slave, the winner. What do you feel about this and the selection put up fourth?
12 Years a Slave was definitely a great movie. I would say in terms of the other ones on this list, it's tough because all of them are so good for different reasons.
That's what I was gonna say. Each movie here is a little different, and I don't know, like, if I really enjoyed one over the other.
Yeah. Okay, so for 12 Years a Slave, I'll keep it as that, especially, and I think the reason it won as well is because, of course, the Oscars um like to keep a
It's catered
very
to, yeah,
a different
progressive.
social commentary on a lot of their selections, which can sometimes be controversial, but I don't think in this case it is. I think 12 Years a Slave is very deserving. If I were to pick another, I would just go with the Wolf of Wall Street, I think, just because it's probably my favorite of the bunch that I can watch again. Yeah, Gravity was really good, but in terms of its story, I don't think it's as incredible as it is just
Visually.
visually, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it as much as The Wolf of Wall Street. Her's another good one. American Hustle's good too. And like I said, Captain Phillips is good as well. I just think I enjoyed The Wolf of Wall Street the most. Obviously, excellent performances from Jonah Hill, Margot Robbie, Leo DiCaprio. Funny story, just great acting. I just love how without going into the movie, really not knowing anything about who the person was or the past was, it was kind of funny to see his life go from being at the pretty much being a nobody, top of the world, and then totally crashing. And it's interesting to see interviews with him after on podcasts. Like I was listening to a podcast with him today with Theo Vaughn. Pretty interesting dude. But yeah, I think Wolf of Wall Street was the most entertaining of the bunch here for me. And they're all great films, so it doesn't take anything away from it. But I'm totally fine with 12 Years a Slave winning.
Yeah. So we can move on to Best Actor or actor in a leading role. Matthew McConaughey wins with Dallas Buyers Club, and the nominees Christian Bale in American Hustle, Bruce Dern in Nebraska, Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. Wow, I'm very
Yeah, I just don't
sorry.
even want to try to butcher that. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have Matthew McConaughey with the winner. I think I obviously put on an excellent performance. I think part of that had to do with the weight loss and the transformation in his body, as we said in our last episode, if any of you are actually listening to these. But yeah, I think that it was a great performance. I think personally, Leo was my favorite in Wolf of Wall Street. I think he portrayed Jordan Belfort pretty much perfect. And again, there might be like kind of movie bias because it was my favorite movie of that year. But I think one of the reasons why that movie is so good is because Leo puts on an exceptional performance. I know you said it was your favorite Leo performance. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a fun movie. He's so great in it. The scenery's on Quaaludes. It's just not every actor can do that. So personally, I would have gave it to Leonardo.
Yeah, definitely. You can make a case for Matthew McConaughey as well, just because of how much of a transformation it took on his body. But I think in terms of individual takeover of a movie, Leo kind of takes the cake on this one. Actor in a supporting role, Jared Leto rather wins with Dallas Buyers Club. Barkhad Abdi for Captain Phillips, and Bradley Cooper with American Hustle, Michael Fassbender, 12 Years a Slave, and Jonah Hill in The Wolf of Wall Street. Again, Jared Leto, good in Dallas Buyers Club. Jonah Hill is good in The Wolf of Wall Street. Bradley Cooper was pretty good in American Hustle, though. Yeah, this one's tough, especially like Captain Phillips. A lot of the movie relies on Mr. Abdi to kind of take over and put on some good performances.
And I'm pretty sure I could be just speaking out of my ass. I could be totally wrong, but I think they just like picked him out of the street. Like I think he came out of absolutely nowhere.
I don't know, because I've seen him in some other stuff actually.
After
Surprisingly,
though, I think it was after he started getting in movies. I could be just like totally wrong, but I thought he was in Good Time. I thought the security guard was him at first,
hmm.
but it wasn't.
Yeah. If I were to pick another, I'd probably go with him, just because I would say this is probably his debut film,
I think
if
so.
I'm not mistaken. But yeah, to take on a role like that is pretty challenging, and I think he did pretty good.
Yeah. Again, just because all these movies were excellent, all these performances were excellent as well, so it's kind of tough to pick here. For me, probably my most entertaining would have been Jared Leto, just because it's not an easy role to play, and he definitely had to
Yeah.
make his own transformation as well. And it's like there's some roles where I'm not saying these other roles are like this, but there's some roles where it's like obviously you don't have to challenge yourself that much because you're not playing a character that maybe their personality is much different than you, but the person themselves, you don't have to really change yourself actually, and kind of like maybe your accent or the way you act too much to be able to portray that person. Where Jared Leto went the extra mile to do that. Jonah Hill's character I just love because he's just so funny, and it's just a great character in the movie. I don't think he probably had to challenge himself as much to portray that character. So I'm totally fine with Jared Leto getting it because I think part of the Oscars should be praising actors for pushing the boundaries of what it means to be an actor, and just always striving to be more creative and advance in cinematography. But Jonah Hill was probably most entertaining, but I respect Jared Leto
Wait,
with
did you
the
say
role.
advance in
Yeah, I
cinematography?
meant like filmmaking, like or film creation, just making like just moving forward and always striving for better.
Okay, actress in a leading role now. Kate Blanchett won with Blue Jasmine. Nominations are Amy Adams for American Hustle, Sandra Bullock in Gravity, Judi Dench in Philomena, and Meryl Streep in August, Osage County. So it's a lot I haven't seen.
Yeah, I've seen
I've
Gravity,
seen
American Hustle.
yes. Kate Blanchett, obviously a legend. So,
And I heard she was absolutely amazing in Blue Jasmine, and it was the and the
is that the
Barstool.
movie where she plays everyone? Because there's a movie that
Maybe
she's in where she plays 13 different characters.
because one of the Barstool guys ranked it the best performance of the decade.
Really?
Yeah.
So let me see. I can't. No,
It's
I
just
don't think
her.
this is it.
Anyways,
But
yeah.
there is a movie where she plays 13 different characters, which is insane.
She's a beast.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd probably give it to her still, I guess. Amy
Still.
Adams. I honestly, Sandra Bullock, I don't think did anything crazy in Gravity because it's so hard to focus on acting in a movie like that, of course, because
I thought her performance was actually a little weak.
you're just visually into it. But I've never really been a big fan of Sandra Bullock in terms of her entire body of work. There's a couple movies that I think she's done decent in, but nothing really blown me away.
I think she does okay in good movies for the most part.
Actress in a supporting role, Lupita Nyong'o. So she's also in Us, I believe, as well.
Oh, she plays the mom?
Yes.
Yes, I think you're right.
Sally Hawkins in Blue Jasmine. Jennifer Lawrence, American Hustle. Julia Roberts, August, Osage County, and June Squibb in Nebraska. So I'm going to give it to Lupita still just because I really like her in general as an actress. And yeah, you could see she's clearly developed into quite the actress herself in Us. Making it. Wait, what are you looking at?
Frozen was 2013.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And Despicable Me was 2013. So
We're
when was
looking at
Despicable
the animated movies now. Yeah.
and the Croods? So Despicable Me was 2010. Time flies.
But yeah, Lupita takes the cake for me.
I'm down with it. I think
So
the last one we're gonna do here is interesting. So Roger Deakins does Prisoners.
yes,
I didn't know that. Well, I mean, that was nominated for cinematography,
he's a
and I'll
goat.
give it.
I'm telling you, he's a goat.
I know he is. He did American Beauty, I swear. Another Sam Mendes movie. And Sam Mendes obviously did Revolutionary Road as well. But Gravity, I'm fine with Gravity winning for cinematography. It was
Yeah.
the biggest part of the movie. A space movie's done well. It's a movie that you have to watch in theaters, and luckily I did. But it almost made me puke because she goes kind of like floating in space and she's just spinning all over the place. It's tough to follow.
So, am I also seeing that The Great Gatsby was in this year?
You might be looking at The Great Beauty.
The Great Gatsby.
Where do you see Great Gatsby?
Look in costume design because it's right underneath cinematography, which is also crazy because Leo was
He
in
went
that as
hard.
well. So he
Yeah,
was in
2013. He had a big year.
he was in a couple of movies there, and he didn't win for either, which is just. I mean, Great
Wow, great.
Gatsby wasn't that great.
Yeah, I got 48% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much concludes the episode. I would say we've covered a lot. The movie, very disappointing in my opinion, but the characters and the actors definitely redeemed it. It's just not. It's not a story that needed to be adapted. I don't think. Like it's.
No, I wanted there to be a twist. I wanted something to go down where I was like, oh damn. And I guess I kind of was because she died, but at the same time, I don't know. I went into it thinking somebody was gonna die anyways.
Yeah. So the next movie we're going to be watching is Prisoners, starring Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal.
My dog.
So pretty excited for that. Make sure you go ahead and watch that if you want to follow along with the review at all. And we will see you guys next time.
See ya.